Welcome to the SoulScape Show, where together we will explore and discover the depth and breadth of your soul. This is a very special panelist show with your host Gabrielle Spencer and special guests Sara Landon and Ambujam Rose. Gabrielle Spencer is known for conscious radiation. She's a multidimensional intuitive channel and channels the golden beings of light, Kuan Yin, Teotihuacan, and many others. She is an inspirational speaker, author, and practical spiritualist whose purpose is to heal and assist old souls to fully awaken to their soul's mission. Sara Landon is a globally celebrated transformational leader, visionary entrepreneur, spiritual advisor, and channel of the Council. The Council is an energetic presence of expanded awareness and higher level consciousness, offering a grander perspective of the human experience and the wisdom to live one's highest potential. Ambujam Rose is a way shower and self-embodiment accelerator. She helps you understand and navigate your awakening to quickly heal the old ego self and learn how to live from truth. Ambujam works directly with the divinity of group energy, God, and grace for the evolution of humanity. And today, together, we will be discussing human evolution as we see it now and as we enter into 2020. Thank you for joining us. Welcome, everyone, to the SoulScape Show. This is Gabrielle Spencer, your host. And this week we have a really special show because it's our panelist series, which is my favorite, actually, because we get to have real fun and talk about real issues in kind of a less serious way, but they really actually matter. And that's what we are here to talk about, is the evolution of our soul, the time that we're coming into. And really, it's not waiting for 2020. I don't know about you all, but I've noticed a total change and how it continuously ramps up. So that's what this show is dedicated to. You understanding another way of looking at something, gaining new perspectives, new channelings, and whatever comes through when we have these discussions. So it's really exciting. And today I have with me just two of my favorite girlfriends, Sara Landon and Ambujam Rose. So I'm going to give you a little heads up as to who they are in case you don't know them, because we have quite an audience. And this way, you'll have a little idea, and I want to invite the audience to go ahead and type into the chat box, and all of us can see them, and ask us your questions and discussion points and things that are happening for you. This way, we can make it an all-inclusive type event. Sara. All right, we're going to start with Ambujam Rose. Ambujam Rose is a way shower and a self-embodiment accelerator. She helps you understand and navigate your awakening to quickly heal the old ego self and learn how to live from truth. Ambujam works directly with the divinity of group energy, God, and grace for the evolution of humanity. And Sara Landon. She is a globally celebrated transformational leader, visionary entrepreneur, spiritual advisor, and channel of the Council who offers expanded awareness and higher level consciousness, offering a grander perspective of the human condition. Okay, ladies, welcome. Would you like to say hello?
Hello, everybody. So happy to be here, and happy to be here with the girls. This will be fun.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to just start it off and say, okay, I want to talk about something that I just went through, and I have to be honest that prior to me having to experience it myself, hadn't given it anything, no thoughts, no anything. It just wasn't on my screen. And I think that that's what's important too for people to understand, is that things may be happening around you or that you're experiencing that you don't realize might be actually something more important you should tune into. So I had a sickness over the weekend, and it came upon me like that, which for me, I don't really get sick. And that was amazing because I was completely bedridden, could hardly move. I had to get my husband to come help me get up several times. And I was wiped, completely wiped. And I had a fever, but not a regular fever, a fever that was in various parts of my body. Okay. And it would move and shift and etc. Now, it didn't mean I didn't have the chills like a fever, but it was very interesting. So the first night at 10:30, it broke and I had the regular sweats like a breaking fever, right? And I was able to shower and go to bed, but I was still super weak. Next day, still super weak. And then boom, it just set upon me again. And I was like, oh my goodness, I spent all day into late evening in bed. Next morning, I wake up and I am weak as a kitten. And I'm like, I've got to have a shower. This is crazy, right? So I drag myself to the shower. I get out and I nearly black out. And I'm like, oh my God, this is really crazy. So I get myself to my bed and I call my husband who's running the kids to school because normally I do that, but obviously not happening, right? And I said to him, oh my God, this is really bad. I nearly just blacked out. And he said, I've been doing energy work on you this whole weekend. And he would come in and do energy work. And he goes, and you know that black void energy that I told you kept trying to get into your light bodies and like into the center mass of you. He goes, I've been thinking about that. And I don't think that was evil. I think actually you're supposed to integrate with that. And I was like, okay, thanks for that. Let me do it. Like I knew immediately what I was supposed to do, right? So I did, called on the Golden Beings of Light, which are the group that I work with. And it was not even, let's say 5 minutes to be nice. So I talked to him at 8:38 in the morning. He's on his way back. By the time I got home at 5 to 9, I was dressed and sitting at my desk working in my office. And as the day went on, I gained energy and got stronger. And I've been fine since, right? But other things have happened that I've noticed on a physical level. So here was the funny part. He tells me as we're having that conversation, he's like, maybe it is like that spiritual flu everybody is talking about. We're talking about it in our group. And I was like, what? So that's the long story. And here it is. It's being willing, instead of pushing away and pulling that energy out, giving it permission to merge, and then ta-da, you're through it. So I'd love your thoughts on the ascension flu, spiritual flu, the spiritual sickness, whatever, what that is to you and your guides and what you channel, and how people can identify it, maybe not after a complete 48 hours. Okay, go ahead.
Well, I actually have a question.
Yes.
I think this will help people listening. So how did you know that you should actually allow this void in versus knowing it was bad? How'd you know?
I didn't know. My husband had mentioned it, but I was honestly so sick that I didn't pay any attention. And, it's really interesting. You always think to yourself, if you can channel, you should just always go there, right? You should always just connect and ask, except for that when you're physically not well, we know that that's harder to do, right? So I never checked. But when my husband told me this that morning, it went, and I totally knew exactly what to do and how to do it.
It resonated.
And how to ask. Yes. I mean, it was just like, wow, I wish you'd said something earlier. I just took what he said, that it was not a positive, that it was a, black. And and that's the thing, right? We have these preconceptions. It's a black energy. It's like a black void. And later when he said this to me, I'm like, but I work with the void. So do you see what I'm saying? What do you think, Sarah? You're being awfully quiet.
Well, I think from my perspective, I believe all of it is an opportunity to come back into consciousness. And so if we sit in the judgment of it, if we're sitting there judging that it shouldn't be there, we're trying to judge whether it's wrong or what did we do wrong, or feeling the sense of guilt of, when was I not in alignment? Now I'm sick. And we sit in this judgment, and then we're judging what is. I believe all that time we're in judgment, we're not opening and allowing our energy, our own energy, to come in and serve us. And so I think it's always an opportunity to remember your power and come back into alignment. And I think, to me, I look at it more not as trying to label it as a spiritual flu or the ascension flu or any of that, but into consciousness, coming back into consciousness. So when we come back present into the conscious moment and we open up, we allow our own energy, that pure source energy, to come in and serve us. So I think, to me, a little bit is this transition out of having to judge everything and even label it as right or wrong or something I should use my power to deflect or get rid of or move out or fix or heal, but being an opportunity, which is exactly what you did. Exactly when you got to the place of no longer judging it, you just opened up and allowed energy in that moment that you returned back to a state of pure consciousness. That pure source energy was there flowing through you and to you once again, and you instantly felt better.
So, since we're human, I mean,
yes, but we are consciousness.
And here's the thing, though, that I think that for part of the explanation is that there are, I guess this is how I'm perceiving it now, which is that all sorts of things are on the table that have not been there before, right?
What do you mean by that?
I think that there are a lot of upgrades happening, and we're going to experience things that we haven't before. Different things are going to happen. I mean, one of the things that have come out of this experience is my vision has changed. Very bizarre. Mm-hmm. And you're just like, okay, well, that's very interesting. So there are other things, even the food thing, like green food is great. My body is loving it. Other regular food is not loving it at all. And have never been totally in that direction ever before. So it's really interesting to me, just the physiological changes that I'm noticing within my own self that had nothing to do with me saying, oh my goodness, I think I'm gonna just start drinking green juice all the time. Right? I mean, even a salad the other day, it was like, I don't know, a couple bites. So you see what I'm saying? It's like, I think there are different things happening. And I think that it's important to realize that we don't actually know what is happening. So yes, it's not having judgment, it's allowing, but I guess then, is it always good stuff?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a similar experience to you when I got married. And I got married and I wanted to, like, that was not the issue. 2 days later, I felt horribly weird. And I'm like, oh no, I made the wrong decision. Something's wrong with me. Like, that was my first thought, right? I'm like freaked out. And I was like, wait a minute. And I'm talking like hours go by. Then it's freaked out for a while. And I was like, I'm going to tune in and actually see what's going on. Like, yeah, I'm freaked out, but is my heart freaked out? Like, what's actually going on? So I went in my heart and I sat and I felt like me getting married moved me into this other energy. And a part of me was out of it that actually needed to be integrated. So it was kind of similar to your experience, but it wasn't the void. It was a part of me. Once I realized that and I chose to align in the new energy, I felt better in like 2 seconds. And so that's why I asked you, like, how did you know? Because so many people ask me, how do you tell the difference between, the truth, your mind, your emotions, the dark, the light, all of that. And so that's why I asked you to help others. Like, how did you know it was positive energy that you should actually allow in versus like, oh, it doesn't feel, so I just wanted to share that. And then, the flu thing or people getting sick, to me, it's the same thing. I would tune in and be like, am I actually sick? Or is my system detoxing? Or is something realigning? Like for me, it's always coming back to my truth and always asking, what is actually going on? Here's what I think is going on. And so most of the time when I see people have a cold, it's a consciousness thing where there's something going on that's foggy and confused and kind of an out of body thing. The flu is like detoxing spiritually, you know. So what is sickness? You know, it's not sickness. It's, you know, if there's something going on in the body, it's either emotional, past life, this life. It's always stuff, right? But then it's just, you know, us practicing our discernment of, is this something I need to move towards, or is this something I actually need to say, you know what, nope, doesn't feel good. But yeah, I agree with you too, Gabrielle, what you said about there's so much going on energetically that we're going to have access to all this different stuff. And then next year, interesting, you know, interesting playground. But yep. And then what you said too, Sarah, it's like, yeah, the consciousness, like how I see next year is, you know, I never really work with labels. I don't like, unless something comes in really specific, like it's a galactic thing or something like that. I see more of it kind of on a baseline level, and that our truer selves, let's say our deeper levels of self, is already in here. But the energy that's coming in next year is so much light, simply put, that it's just going to trigger who we are. So what's actually coming in is just who we are, which is going to trigger who we are. And it's going to, like, you know, match, right? It's cool being here because we all have different perspectives, but we're, you know, from different angles saying the same.
Tell us, Sarah.
Yeah. No, I what comes to me when you're saying that is just this light is coming in. This expansion of awareness and consciousness is expanding our potential and expanding our potential to be all that we are in our human experience. And in that, you know, how do we want to live more fully? How do we want to love more fully? How do we want to really express all that we are? And so, you know, to me, that's what's so exciting about what I see going on right now is people really coming to this place of, how do you really want to live? How do you want to express yourself? What experiences do you want to have? You know, all of this expansion that we've been going through, this growing, this healing, this transformational work that we've been doing, that is all leading to an expansion of our awareness, our consciousness, which expands our potential, which expands what's possible for us, and ultimately brings us to this place of really knowing that we are free to be who we are and to be all that we are. And that's what's so exciting to me as I see what's going on right now. And to your question, Gabrielle, about, you know, how do I know it was right or wrong? You know, it's really getting into this place of what is happening is always happening for us, is an opportunity. But if the more we're in our power and the more conscious we can stay in all of it, the easier we can shift through it and pick up that piece that is really there to serve us in that experience. Does that make sense?
It does. And so we have a question from someone, and I want to rephrase it a little bit. Okay. So I think the name is Sadia. So she's asking, please tell me what's going on with me. But what I would twist that just a smidge to say, how can she tap in? What questions should she be asking her own inner self and her own guidance about what's going on with her? Because I think that broadly helps everybody. Is there someone who wants to take that?
So if I can start with that, I think as we talk about consciousness and we're talking about different dimensions, right? Third dimension, fourth dimension, fifth. What does all that mean and what does all that matter? I think as we begin to be more aware of what those mean practically in our life, part of that is the shift of what's wrong with me, what's happening to me, to beginning to know yourself as really the creator of your life experience and fully stepping into your life as your creation. So the question isn't what's wrong with me or what's going on with me. It's what do I want and what do I want to create? So when we have come to this place of being able to come conscious into the moment, and maybe you're worried, or maybe you're feeling off, or maybe you're feeling stressed, it's not about creating resistance or pushing against or trying to figure out so then we can fix it. It's allowing ourselves to expand into this level of consciousness that's available to us, where we can begin to ask without resistance or reaction to what is it that I want? And ultimately there's a feeling behind that. And that feeling is a frequency or a vibration. So what is it that you want? Do you want freedom? I think for most people, what they're really wanting right now, whether you want a healthier body, it's to feel a sense of freedom within your body. Whether you want more money or a different job or a new business where you can, share more of your gifts and your talents, you want the freedom to be who you are. In a relationship, what do we want? We want someone that gets us, someone that sees us, so we can really be free to be who we are. So what is it that you want? Behind that is a feeling. And it's about beginning to be aware of your ability to align with that, because we get more of what we are focused on and what we are. So if you continually think, what's wrong with me? What do I constantly need to fix? And you're constantly in this stage of healing, and can you tell me what's wrong with me? We tend to draw to us just more and more and more things to feel like there's something wrong. And we constantly are in that state of consciousness, which is about fixing what's wrong, healing what's wrong, that constant state of changing what isn't correct about us. So my question back to her would be, what do you want? What do you want to experience more of in your life?
She wrote back and said, love came to me instantly. So her answer is she's wanting more love. So then,
regardless of what's going on in this moment, go within yourself and align to what does love feel like. If you go into your heart and you really feel what love feels like, and I usually do this with my eyes closed, I go, okay, I feel myself into an alignment with love. What does love really feel like? And then you begin to shift your entire experience, and you start drawing to you more loving experiences, more experience of love, more focus on love, until you realize at some point your reality, because of your perception and what you were perceiving, is a more loving reality, more loving relationships, a greater sense of love with your body. And that will heal any and all thing without you needing to focus on what you need to fix or what's wrong. That's how I would respond to her question about what's going on with her, or what do we see. It's your soul's desire is to be a greater expression of love in your life and in the world around you.
Yes, it is. And sometimes it's hard for people to get past the first layers of things, and we get caught up. I mean, my own example is I just got caught up in being sick. Didn't do any work. I thought, I'm sick. I actually did not even think about anything else. That's why it's actually funny, because it wasn't my first thing, like, oh, it must be some integration or whatever. But anyway, this is good though, because everybody has to come back to the basics, to me, which is what you're saying, asking yourself, what is it that I'm creating? What is it that I'm wanting? Or that I want to create? And so there was another question that came in, which is fantastic. Okay, what do you do if you don't know what you want to create? Ambujam, do you want to take that?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's an awesome question.
It is.
So what you do is you go in your heart, because when we're saying, what do you want? We're not asking your mind, what do you want? We're not asking your emotions, what do you want? We're asking your truest, hardest heart of hardest, deepest heart ever in there. So, and I had to learn this the hard way, because when I woke up, I was in New York City and I did what I always did, and I'd go to meditate into what to do. Big black hole. Okay. Long story short, after 8 months of being in the big black hole, I had to learn how to surrender to this truth that's now living my life. Okay. Because I still think I'm a me, right? Me. I'm not. It's like chicken with its head cut off. This will merge into, right now there's still me in my heart. I still tune into my heart, right? But really I'm this, right? So when you don't know what you want, my suggestion is this is not living your life anymore. Seems like it, but it's not, okay? So you want to go to the source, which is the heart, or some people feel their consciousness kind of more expansive. They don't go there. They just kind of go into more of expansive state. So whatever it is for you, but you want to learn how to kind of lean back and surrender into the truth of the self in the body. And it's like you're just listening and you're asking, okay, what's next? What wants to happen? What's here, I wonder? And you wait and you're curious and you don't manufacture an answer. You actually become curious of, I wonder what's actually, next for me. And the more you align your human self with your heart energy, it's like life, I don't want to say it's easier, but it's easier because life's bringing everybody here, because we could say, is a true self living its life, right? So the more we can keep going there, keep going to the well, steeping there, kind of merging our consciousness there, that's when I say, what do you want? I'm not saying you, I'm saying you, capital Y, you. And I experience, simply put, two things. And I've seen this in others as well, because there's so much awakening going on. Some people karmically have cleared so much that they're actually at a spot where there's no habit. There's clean slate. And they're being asked, what do you want now? And sometimes this can be kind of really quiet. Okay. But you still don't manufacture it from your thinking, logical, math mind, right? It's like you're feeling through your whole kind of sensing system of, how do I want to, it's like a flower that's opening and opening and opening and opening. And there's a curiosity there that you're in your beingness, really either having the ability to just choose from beingness, or there's something there. For me, I experience both. I get this feeling of like, I get to choose whatever I want in this moment. And it's kind of overwhelming because there's no habit there. There's just nothing there. But I still don't choose from here. I feel what I want from for me, I use the word rightful. I don't do anything that's not, as best as I can, that's not a rightful choice. I don't make it happen. I don't think what I want. I feel my consciousness. What do you want now? So that it's here, it's in you. It's not, there's no thinking. And this whole awakening thing. We all have to learn not to go here. This still works for other things, driving car, balancing checkbook, making lists, but it's not our guidance though, right?
Right.
And
it's
then
3D stuff.
Yeah. And Spirit's saying to go there, means you have to be willing to be that aligned with this, right? Because we have attachments, desires, emotional wants, needs, all that stuff. So they're saying there can be a fear of, fully dropping in, right? Which is what everybody's going through. Because to me, no matter what issue I'm working on with somebody, what it all boils down to is they are scared to death to be who and what they are fully. We all are. Okay, we just keep going deeper, 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 deeper. So Spirit's just talking about, there's a fear that can kind of be hanging around of really dropping in and really asking the question of what's there to actually be and do, So that's what I would share.
Thank you. Do you have anything to add to that, Sara?
I do, but I just want to give you a chance, Gabrielle. Is there anything you wanted to add?
No, I think that we all, what's interesting about the three of us is that we all have our own way of talking about things, but in essence, it is about the heart soul connection, the heart, higher self, soul, and that when it is connected, it's easier to have the clarity of what's next. And the challenge is being able to keep the ego mind out of it, right? To say, well, nothing's happening. Shouldn't you be doing something? Shouldn't you be moving it along? Call somebody, for God's sake. I'm getting nervous. We're getting to the deadline. And that part is where the ego mind steps in, and then it's totally creating, this, the old way the phones used to be, right? And so you can't hear the information come in because you've got all this mind chatter going on. So it is about being connected and being able to wait. I think that's probably the hardest part, is waiting for divine timing. And for a long, long time, divine timing used to really tick me off because I'd be like, what? I need it right now. Right. I want it right now, and I want blah, blah, blah to happen. And, when people would say to me, Gabrielle, it's divine timing, I'd be like, this divine timing thing is like, it's like the excuse for everything, right? So that's why for me, that wasn't my favorite thing. But now when I've come to peace with it, like I get it now. And I realize that the more that I'm at peace with the process of how the universe works and how my soul is basically moving me into the places I need to be in order to evolve the quickest, in order to have the impact I'm meant to have in my own life, my kids' life. There's just so much going on, and my job gets easier when I'm not closed off. I mean, we could just talk about the weekend, 2 days down. That was a significant hit for a family of 5. Mom is out of commission. Just, it's tough. So yeah, not being completely connected and paying attention or even asking, this is what keeps us in a place of non-clarity. It's where we feel like we're disconnected, and that's what we are. We are disconnected in some way. We're separated in some way. And it can be separation in that moment based on a perspective, based on an idea, an understanding. Somebody else said something to you. I mean, this creates that separation and disconnection. And so keeping that channel open wide and bringing the light through and having the peace, knowing that as long as you're connected, you're going to show up where you need to show up when you're supposed to show up, and you're going to do what it is that you're meant to do. And so I think for everyone out there, if you don't have the clarity that you want, the answer for you is to clear out your heart and heal the heart's consciousness as much as you can. And that will help you to declutter, right? And be more connected. So that's my little piece. Go ahead, Sara, tell us.
Well, first off, I love this conversation. I love that we all come to it through our experience and our own experience of the spirit and the wisdom and the consciousness that comes through us. And it's amazing to me just to watch conversations like this be so beautiful, and yet knowing that, you know, that deeper whatever needs to happen is happening through this just wonderful, joyful conversation. So and that you'll hear what you need to hear, however you hear it. So the question, kind of going back to, I think it was sort of, what if you don't know what you want? And I think it's interesting because I see this across the board, especially the last couple of years, of people getting to this place where they feel like they don't know what they want. And I believe that's become, in the way kind of I see it, as limitation. We're waking up to the limitation that we've been living in, and the limitation that we have imposed on ourselves. And we are waking up to the limited beliefs and the realities that others have created, and realizing that it doesn't have to be our creation, not that they're wrong, but we can choose what we want for us. And so in my sort of way of processing it, I look at it more as becoming aware of the limitations that we've been imposing on ourselves, which is the gap we've created. So for most of us, we spent our entire life being motivated. And what that means is avoiding some unwanted circumstance. You're motivated by something in order to avoid some unwanted circumstance. So for most all of us, it's not being enough, not being good enough. And then the really deep one, which is being aware that you have a purpose in life, and then being motivated because, oh my gosh, what if I fail at my purpose for being here? And what if I don't get it right? And so this fear of failing at our life purpose and failing at this mission that we're here for. And you can't, you really can't. And so when you come to this awareness that you are your purpose, you being here, living the fullest expression of who you are, illuminates the potential for humanity to elevate themselves beyond the limitation that they've also experienced. But when you realize that you being here, you are your purpose, that you are everything you wish to be, and now it's your opportunity to live it and experience it and expand through that and express yourself in all of that. Express all of you are, which means be all that you are. So from that place, understanding that most all of what we have done is through this motivation, which created lack and separation from what we thought we needed and what we thought we wanted in order to be happy or fulfilled or get our purpose right or our mission right. So we're constantly motivated by this not being enough, constantly motivated by not getting our purpose right. And at some point you come into this awareness of yourself beyond that limitation. And for a lot of people, I think it feels like a really clean slate. And they question at that point, you know, what do I really want? And so from that place, I believe we can shift to this understanding of no longer needing to create the gap and the void and the lack and the holding ourselves apart from something. You said not liking the idea of divine timing. That would mean because you can't have what you want and need right now because you have to wait for divine timing. And the truth is, you can absolutely in this moment align with everything that you are and that you want in this moment. And so when you know you can do that, there's no more waiting for anything. And then you just get excited about the miraculous and magical way that that's going to unfold, because we don't, in our head, we create the gap. And I loved what you said about the heart and the head connection and not going up there for the answers, because logically that is always going to perceive that that thing that you want and need is not there, versus understanding that we get more of what we are. So my question to her would be, or the way I would answer this question is, what do you want more of? because there's no gap in that. It means it's already there on some level. You just want to expand it. You just want more of it. So what do you want more of? More abundance. You don't have to create the gap in your life in order to draw more of it to you. So when you align with that in your abundance, and you really feel into abundance and really enjoying all the good in your life, the good in your body, the good in your relationships, the good in your connections, the beautiful nature, the beautiful place we live, all that we have, and we really start feeling into that abundance, we instantly start drawing more of that to us. And how it happens and when and what and all of that no longer really matters, because you're feeling into what you want more of, and you absolutely get to choose as the creator of your life what you want more of and what you want to experience. But from a heart place, which is what we've been talking about, it's a feeling. We are feeling beings. And the part of us that's really real is the feeling. So if you look at your life experience and who you have become, it's a series of feelings. And if we describe the love we have for someone, it's a feeling. And that's the part that's really real. Even if that person makes their transition and they're no longer here, the part of that that's real is the feeling part, right? Because form is always changing. So if you're really attached and dependent on the form of it, that's where we kind of get ourselves a little bit, I think, personally for me, where I get myself out of alignment, is getting really attached to trying to figure out the form and how and when and who, right? Versus what is it you want more of in your life? And when you focus on that, that begins to expand. We get more of what we are, not so much what we want. And especially when we've created the gap in order to get clear on what we want, it's getting aligned with, okay, you already are that on some level. Now, how do you draw to you more of that?
Okay. I think we covered it.
Can I
Go ahead, Ambujam.
I love what you said about the motivation. That word, it's so specific to me, because that's where this kind of crack of awakening happens, when we start waking up. Because like you said, we've been motivated from this place forever, right? Just this life, let's say. And then when awakening happens, things don't happen from that motivation anymore. They start happening just out of sheer experience and wholeness. I don't even have words for it, right? And so people have to, like, in the beginning, they've got to been like, wait, they've got to kind of figure out, okay, if I don't want to do this or this, I can't do this from this place anymore, then what? And it's so confusing. But yeah, it's like for me, like, I think it's been like 13 years now when my awakening happened, and definitely linear time helps a lot, right? And like Gabrielle, what you said, it's like it gets easier. Something just starts to happen when you just start to become more peaceful in that which is motivating you now. And truly the self is never lacking anything. It's never needing or wanting anything. And so it's really hard to describe with words, but it's really all there. And as you were talking, Sarah, I kept feeling like the energies of next year are really going to start having what you're saying start to be more of a direct experience, because you're talking about, we'll just simply say, being more of an awake human being and living from that place of already, like it's already here, but not what the mind thinks already here means. Because there's like when my awakening happened and I was just sitting in that void for 8 months, and the void just went, shh, quiet. And I had these like experiences of, oh my God, anything I could ever want could manifest in 2 seconds, but I don't need anything. My mind was like, yes, you do. You need money and you need to go to work and you need. And then there was like, how do I not need anything? Because it appears I do. Because I just moved to my new place. Everything went away. My rent quadrupled. Seemingly, I'm screwed, right? Can't work. I can't do anything except lay there. And just this energy of like being in all these like threads of possibility all at once, and yet nothing was needed truly, so nothing was manifesting until it was time. And you can't really tell someone that. I mean, you can, but until they have that direct experience, it's like the mind takes it and goes, oh, okay, I don't need anything and I'll just wait, right? It's like, nope, it's down here, right? But I think next year is really going to start highlighting these higher teachings, I guess we could say, that are pointing to something that's really already happening, but it's really hard for us to experience it fully because we're still kind of in this denser place, right? And this shift will crack us open that much more and bring us into these more of these direct experience of these higher teachings. And yeah, when you said motivation, I'm like, that is such a key word, because that's the major thing that starts to crack when awakening happens, because that which was motivated from lack and gotta, and who knows if any of that was even true to do. That's the word I use. Is it true to do? Is it even true to do? Right?
Yeah. This
whole other motivation, which is just, I don't have words. It's just like living its life and it's doing its thing. It's, yeah, it's a freaky, awakening's friggin' freaky experience. But after years of it, to me, like what I've seen in myself and others when they're waking up, it's like a 3 to 5 year thing, where the first 3 years are challenging and weird, and you feel like you're on drugs all the time and you don't know what grounding means, and you're just like, what is happening to me? And then you're like, oh, okay, I'm kind of getting this now. And then like after 5 years, things start to really kind of, lack of a better word, they settle and there's more peace and there's just, you keep going. But it's it's an extraordinary experience that was really hard to quantify with words. And I just keep feeling like next year is really going to start bringing us into more of what we're talking about for people to like taste it, because it'll be more available out there energetically. Yeah.
Okay. So you had a question, Ambujam, that you sent to me, or a comment that you wanted to talk about. So I want to ask both of you this, because I think it's very important as part of, as we're coming toward the end of the year, and people are going through their own processes. Talk about choices and how we can best set ourselves up to continue as these unknown energies come in, how we can best integrate them, assimilate them, move and continue in our daily lives to keep our own vibration as high as possible. You want to go ahead, Sarah?
Yeah, I would love to. Thank you. It's an interesting, I think that kind of plays on what we were just talking about as far as motivation. Who are you if you're not doing all the time? If there is nothing you can possibly do to earn your right to be here on this planet at this time, if there's nothing you can do to earn a higher place in heaven or the ability to ascend, like if there's nothing left to do, what is there? It's being, and I know my personality really didn't know who I was if I was
going to do this.
Doing something.
me, I know. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Gabrielle. What's the answer?
I get to just being
Yes!
light. Oh my God.
Just be who you are.
That's right.
So, at least for me, the trauma and the drama I created for myself in this awakening journey was constantly trying to do something. Just come on, give me something to do. Like, give me something to do. I can do it. I can do anything.
You know, we're only laughing because we know exactly what you're talking about.
Everybody, I think we all can relate with this one. Okay, good. Yes, just give me something to do, and like a book to write, or like anything. I'll run around the block a few times. Just give me something to do. It can't be that easy. And I didn't even know what being meant. I'm like, huh? Like, let's go back to doing. I don't even know what that means. That is where I created all the trauma and all the drama that I created for myself in my awakening experience. The resistance, just trying to stay busy doing something to avoid actually being. And so when you get into that space of being, there's so much joy, there's so much beauty, there's so much freedom. I think we don't even know who we are really when we talk about freedom. I think it's what we want most, but also what we're most afraid of, because in that comes a full and total responsibility for your life and your experience. So if ultimately you're going to come to this place of freedom and responsibility, when you get to that place over your experience, then the question becomes, what do you want to experience? So to me, as we go into this really magical time, I do believe if you think about just even the collective, it's a magical time. It's a really miraculous time. And there's absolutely nothing you have to wait for to be in the miraculous, beautiful, incredible energy that is here for us right now. I think we are beginning to really know ourselves as these incredible masters that we are. And so what do you do with that? We know what the teacher does. We know what the healer does. The teacher has to teach those who don't know. The healer has to fix the broken and the sick. But the master, like, what does the master do? The master is just in a state of being. And in that, all things are done through you, which means that, it doesn't mean you don't interact with the world and your neighborhood and your community and do things you love to do and share the different products and services and things you create. But we begin to know ourselves more in this. So I like this perfect example of in a session the other day of, people say, I want to create money. And the channel was kind of jokingly saying, okay, explain to us how you're going to create money. Do you know what size it is? Do you know the exact dimensions of a dollar bill? Do you know how to put the little number code on it to make it viable? No, you don't know how to create money. And the same with if you want to create this beautiful romantic relationship, you don't know how to create DNA. You do not know how to create cells in a body and put a brain in it. We're not creating that stuff. And it's been a huge consciousness shift for me around what creating actually is. Creating is taking all that is, all that exists, all that's here for you, and putting it into some enjoyable use for yourself, putting it into some purposeful use for you, some beautiful way that you want to take all that's been created and experience it more joyfully or experience it in a more beautiful way. If we think about creation without the gap, without creating a gap around what creation is, it's taking all that is. And so then the question becomes, what do you want to experience? What do you really want to experience in this coming year? Not thinking about, what do I have to create in order to be enough, or this big separation, but it's all here. It's all here. So use it enjoy it. And from that state of being, you can really allow yourself to do that. So when we think about experiences, like, what do I want to experience? You actually have to go into the feeling. So when you say, what do I want to experience? You can't go into the doing. In the question of what do I want to experience, you're actually feeling into that thing and what it feels like. And this is the part about manifestation that's really important. When we do talk about energy.
I'll be right back.
Okay.
Sorry, sweetie.
We got it.
Yes, keep going.
When we do talk about manifestation, right? And we're talking about different awarenesses of that. The opportunity that I think we have right now is to start, you mentioned when you were going through your awakening, Ambujam, that there was like all these different potentials that you knew could manifest in 2 seconds. But you didn't really need any of them. Like, you knew you had everything. So you didn't, even though you knew you had this ability to manifest it in 2 seconds with absolute effortless ease, you didn't need to go into doing it in order to experience the fulfillment of it. And so the more we play with that, I think the more we begin to understand what impeccable manifestation and creation is. And we begin to find an ease and a flow to it where we don't have to create the separation, the resistance. So what do you want to experience now, this month, in this time, in this week, and in the coming year and decade? And from this perspective, and this is just one shift that I have really found useful for myself. So without any judgment, being able to say to yourself, I'm creating, and really be honest with yourself. I'm creating a story that I'm stuck, and until I heal my broken body, I can't do what I want to do. I'm creating a story that I don't have love in my life, and I'm creating a story that I don't have the love I want because divine timing hasn't delivered my whatever soulmate or twin flame. You're creating a story about where you are and why you're there. And so if you start noticing this without any judgment, it doesn't matter what you're creating. A perfect example of this is someone said, I'm having a really challenging week. And the channel said, you're creating a really challenging week. So when you say, I'm creating a really challenging week, all of a sudden it feels really different. Now you have some power, some responsibility in it, some freedom in it to choose what you want and what you want to create. So without judging yourself, just start recognizing what you're creating. Even if it's not what you want to be creating, start recognizing it, but also start languaging things and being aware and conscious of things so that you are talking about what you're creating. I'm creating a really magical week. I'm creating a really magical month of really magical, amazing, miraculous things, and I just feel it, right? It's okay to be general with this. You don't have to be specific. It's okay to be general in it, but talk about what you're creating. So as you go into 2020, talk about what you're creating from a level of what you want to experience. And that's how I would harness the energy of this miraculous time and what's coming in, and the excitement that's here for us now.
That's right. It is an exciting time because there's so much unknown happening. And so there's the energetic difference. In the past, people would be like, oh my God, there's really a lot of unknown happening. This is very scary. And actually, it is that perspective shift of actually, it's really cool. And I can't wait to get to whatever, to see the next piece and the next piece and how it comes in, however it comes in, because I think that it's going to be amazing for so many, as long as you're able to be connected and stay connected. I think that's the biggest piece for everyone. Somebody wrote in about the holidays and wanting to know how to keep, make it amazing and keep it amazing. And everything that Sara and Ambujam have shared is exactly what you're going to apply to making your holidays amazing and making your day amazing and your week amazing. And so just like the people, if you remember way back when I first started learning about all of this, you know, we were told to use our abilities and our intention to like create that parking space, right? That was a long time ago. And change the lights and things. But you're using it, but on a grander scale, just seeing it be this way and going through it all, not allowing your mind to remind you, you know, of Aunt Gertrude and Uncle Pinocchio, right? It just realize that it doesn't matter who's going to be there and how it's going to go over. That's the old way. That's the old template of being. And those we're shedding. And I know, Ambujam, you wrote me, the old self, the old ego stuff is being shed. Do you want to talk about it? That's how I read what you wrote me.
I mean,
I think that's a no, Gabrielle.
Yeah,
that's fine. I'm going to talk about it then, because yes. She writes, people ending massive soul history ways of being.
Yeah.
There you are. Yeah. Your words, so, exactly.
Yeah. So, you know, I see everything energetically, like clear as day. Like if you look around your room, you see things, you know, pretty vividly. This is how I see the spiritual world, that vivid. So I see this threshold and we're all here. Okay. And there's this big threshold that everyone's getting ready to move through. And there's things that just can't fit through there because it's too dense. And so we're doing this massive clearing. And it's not how I see this threshold is there's like a big one, but then there's a bunch of them. So it's not like we just do this one movement next year and we're in. Okay. It's a constant shedding and a constant unfolding until we are in wherever it is that's our next landing spot in consciousness. Okay. But yes, there's a massive, massive shedding going on. And one of the things I'm watching in people is they are able to end major ways of being in soul history. It's ending. And so one of the themes is this heaviness. So many people have had. I've had it my entire life. I've had this like, it doesn't feel like grief anymore, but growing up, it was grief and depression and just like, ugh. And no matter what I did, I couldn't get rid of it. And it's still there. I have more space with it now, and it's less because I've cleared the friggin' crap out of that thing. But that's a theme that a lot of people have, is this heaviness, and they can't quite seem to move it. And that is a major thing that I'm watching people able to literally walk away from, like they're done. Okay. So one of the things that you just might want to play with is just ask your heart, ask your truth. What is it I'm actually able to complete now because of the shift that's coming? And, you know, just kind of play with that, because there's a lot that's going on we're not conscious of, right? We're just trying to get through the day. We're human, right? Meanwhile, there's so much happening that if you can tune into that, play with that, use that awareness, use that wisdom to really choose to put your awareness on what's going on, right? So the other thing I just want to say quickly is, so the other thing my gig is seeing the energetic shifts that's going on globally. And October 30th into 31st was a humdinger. It was so intense. It made me look like, what is going on? And what I saw was that there was a dimensional shift that we started to enter into, and it was moving and moving and moving and moving and moving. And we weren't done for weeks. It was happening for quite some time. We're still not like static right now energetically either, but whatever that shift was, whatever that dimensional shift was, getting us ready for the 2020 shift, when I woke up about 2 to 3 days later after that, I wake up in the morning, my mind starts going just like it does. But this time my mind started going, And all of a sudden, all this energy was making the thing happen that much faster. And I was like, oh no, I better be super careful of where I put my energy. And I just started investigating, because we're shifting the ability to, wherever we put our awareness is going to start manifesting. So we have to be super, super careful about where we keep our awareness. And the thing that's challenging is because we're human with human eyes, we don't notice when we put our awareness to something, the universe starts bringing it. And everything starts happening to make that happen, or clearing out what's in the way of that happening. But we don't see that's going on the second we put our awareness to something. And so we think, oh, I'll just keep like, we're not doing this consciously, but our mind is going all day and we're putting our awareness here, 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 and there. And the universe is just trying to keep up. And if I say, I love myself, I love myself, I love myself, the universe goes, okay. Everything starts culminating to make that happen. And then I go, nah, I hate myself, I hate myself. The universe goes, okay. Everything starts changing and that starts happening. We don't see that. So we don't understand the power of where we put our awareness. And it matters more than ever now, because we're shifting energetically. And so the energies are that much faster, and we're able to manifest that much faster. So just be careful. Where are you putting your awareness daily? And don't, beat yourself up either. Like, oh no, right? Just watch it. Just keep an eye out, because it really matters now. And again, we don't notice it's starting to manifest because we don't see that. We're just trying to get through the day and living our human life, right? The other thing I want to say, okay. So I feel like, when the questions come about how do we this, and how do we be with that, and how do we move with the energies of next year, there's a lot that we haven't experienced yet that will be coming in. And the suggestion, the strong suggestion is, how you navigate it, the easiest way is to surrender into yourself and know thyself. Okay? So spend time with your awareness in your system. How do you feel? What's your inner landscape look like? What's going on? Because as these outer shifts happen, it'll keep bringing forward more of our truth. So the more our human awareness just keeps checking in and checking in and checking in. Okay, what now? How do I align with this now? Because there's going to be so many different waves of consciousness coming and consciousness coming. We're going to have to learn just how to surf and figure it out as we go. And there's way too much happening next year energetically of consciousness coming in and being triggered within us to predict this is what it's going to be like. This is how it's going to feel. It's like pointing to something that you have no recognition of. You can't recognize it until you recognize it, right? So we get glimpses, but until we're actually there, we don't really know. We can't predict this is how it's going to be. So my suggestion is how you navigate through all the changes is know thyself. Spend time here to know as things change in here, then how do you be with that? Oh, and then how do you be with the next thing? And then it's all inside. These external shifts are really internal. Okay. Yes, frequencies will heighten on this planet next year, but it's really all inside also. So how you work with outside is really how you work with inside. And so we're just going to have to learn a lot as we go. And one of the things I've been seeing also, and I can only speak for myself, is that we're going to have to learn how to heal again. Because when we started waking up, and the earth, how I saw it, started waking up like 2012-ish, how we were doing healing wasn't working anymore. It's old, it's boring. We're just like, ugh, I don't want to focus on my issues all the time. This sucks, right? It's something in us was like, yeah, this isn't the way, okay? And then we kind of found a new way And it's been, since 2012 now. We've had changes, yes. But next year, we're going to have to find new ways because our consciousness will be more surfaced, more awake, more free. We're going to have to learn then, how do we work from here? And we won't really know yet until we're actually in it. Because right now, it's like looking at a glass house and there's all this stuff going on in there. And we're like, I wonder what that's like. We don't know until we're actually in the house, right? So I would say how to navigate everything is really tune into yourself, into your knowing, into your energy, your space, your field, your you, and you will be guided and you will trust yourself. And that's really how you do it. Because to me, you go to a healer, we're just the cherry on top. We have gifts, we can help things accelerate, we can help you understand something better, but we're never telling you something you don't already know. Really ever. Real healers, I would say, real guides, or we don't tell you something that you didn't know already in there. We just have gifts to see it. Okay. So your true self is your healer. That is your foundational healer. It's you. And you must know you to have that experience. The human must merge or pay attention. Pay attention. Okay. So next year, that paying attention is going to be that much more crucial because that's how you're going to get through it. Not because somebody's telling you how. It's because you know how. And it's very, it's empowering. It's very peaceful when you know that you can come here. This is your well that you go to constantly. And I'm not telling you have to figure it out like this. It takes quite a while to discern you, right? So have patience and kindness and take your time, but do it because this is going to be your answer. Always, always, always. We just help, but you have it. Okay. So the last thing I just want to say about that all is I'm just getting to repeat again that we don't really know all the energies yet. We will, and learn how to ride the waves internally with that.
Okay. All right, Sara, give it to us. You may wrap it up. Give us your last thoughts on what's come in as we've been talking and sharing, and what is it that comes forward for you?
Well, first off, I think that was a really beautiful explanation, and the knowing thyself. I saw a couple in the comments about knowing thyself. What I hear in that is knowing yourself beyond the limitation that you have believed in or thought you had to stay in, knowing yourself beyond all the things, the programs you picked up and the limited beliefs, like knowing yourself beyond all of those things. And I think where we get stuck in the transformation or the awakening process or the healing process is we begin to see some of those limitations. We begin to see some of the ways we created limitation in our reality or limited beliefs or just these programs that were just kind of running unconsciously in the background. We begin to be aware of some of those, but we judge them. And then we judge all those people who we believe we picked up those beliefs from. And, we get in this real judgment of ourselves and creates a lot of resistance. And so when we, the other comment I saw a few things about is just this idea that everything's sort of quickening with manifestation, and that what you're focused on, there's a sort of quickening of it. And that's not something to be afraid of. It's sort of what you've probably been asking for, which is greater awakening, greater ascension, more momentum in your life, more clarity, all of those things. So it's not something to be afraid of. But when we begin to know thyself beyond the limited version of who we thought we were, it's a really beautiful experience. And so, if you think about falling in love, the magical, the time about that's really just this falling in love magical piece of it is because I believe you're seeing a deeper level of yourself mirrored to you by someone else. in this falling in love experience. If you think about a baby, you know, or if you get even if you adopt an animal, right? It's this discovery of getting to know them and relating to them that's really exciting. And we can recognize that in almost everything else that we go through, but we don't give ourselves the space to really celebrate who we are as we begin to discover ourselves and know ourselves in this deeper way. So I like to think, instead of we're constantly working on ourselves, we're just going deeper. We're going deeper. And deeper into what? Into knowing thyself, as you said. And so when you have a newborn child, there's this excitement about it because you're getting to know them and what they do and what they think, you know, how they react and what they look like. And it's exciting. So give yourself that same opportunity to celebrate who you are as you're stripping off these layers and you're elevating your awareness and your consciousness to know more of who you are. Celebrate that. Take some time for that. You know, we have these holidays to celebrate things outside of us, but celebrate you in this time and who you have become. And, you know, you mentioned the thing about the relatives. Gosh, I think one of the best things is just to show up and not see how they've changed, but to see how you've changed into becoming more loving and more accepting and more peaceful.
It all starts
take
with you.
that time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does. And
it changes,
you know, one of the things,
whole dynamic.
Yeah. And sometimes that's a really beautiful moment to just sit there and go, there's no more story. Mm-hmm. You know, there's no more story here. I can just love them for who they are and where they are.
You know, it brings me to mind something I used to talk about a long time ago, which is that people are obligated to trigger you in order for you to learn what you need to learn so you can heal it and release it. And so when you've done that, you would be shocked that these people actually don't trigger you. But here's the really weird thing. You're going to think they changed because they're not treating you the same way. They're not saying the same things to you. And it's not actually that they didn't change. It's that the energy of you changed. So when you can see it and understand it in that way, you start even looking at what people do say to you as how your reaction to it, without your mind telling you how you should react, but your honest to God, right? Gut reaction, that internal reaction, that tells you what you need to work on, or if it's not you at all, that is theirs. Right? And you're good with that. And so I think that for everybody here, I love Celebrate Yourself. I think that's what we should be doing. I mean, think about it. Like, that would change the whole holiday crazy. I always call it the holidays, D-A-Z-E. So, all right, I'm sorry, Sarah. You went right out.
You know, it's just, that just brought something to my awareness. You know, we're spending the holidays buying gifts for everybody else instead of, you know, what is the, isn't that kind of ironic, right? Like, that's
that
how
gives
we
me
celebrate.
Permission. I'm going out and getting the diamond earrings tomorrow. No, just kidding.
There you go. Truly, you know, and, you know, celebrate you. And, you know, I'm having another awareness too, because one of the messages that came in our master's class channel call for the first Sunday of the month was, what if this was the last chapter in this story of your life? You know, we're looking forward to 2020 going like, let's just get this over with and move forward to 2020 because it'll all be better. But what if this time was about writing the final chapter of this story? And you have the opportunity to make it a happily ever after.
And a bestseller.
And, well, you know,
Yes, happily ever after.
True.
And
But
then
like, write it for you and only you.
right.
That's my, we spend so much time wanting to create something that is validated because it's a bestseller, because lots of other people thought it was good. But
No,
the problem
a
with that is,
bestseller for you. Like your life
yeah,
is a
like,
bestseller.
yeah, the
think
book
about
you
that.
want to read over and over again, because that last chapter was just like so good, right?
Amazing.
This is what you have the opportunity to do right now. And,
Okay, I love it. I'm writing the final chapter because you know what? It's only me who says it has to be the final, right?
yeah, and then
But
you start on a new story.
But think about this.
But write this one.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Like the mind, I always love, all three of us talk about the practicality of spirituality because that's just who we are. And so the idea here is to get your mind to cooperate with you on this final chapter writing. You can tell your mind it's your final chapter. What would you put in it? I mean, imagine, right? The final chapter of your movie, what would you put in it? All the best stuff, right? But actually, then that would just be the prequel to your next sequel. So there, I mean, I think it's been, have fun about it, I think is really the point, right?
Play and have fun. This is the message that continually comes up. We have this idea that if you just think about it in the collective, right? We focus on retirement, so we are free to do what we want to do, and then you can play and have fun. Or if you've worked really hard all week, then you have the weekend to play and have fun. And most of the time, that's not what happens. You're constantly in the doing and doing and doing and doing to get it all done. And by the time you get it done, you're so exhausted. You're just trying to recuperate before the next thing you have to get done shows up. But in my experience and the message that has been really coming through is play now, have fun now, do what brings you joy now. And so for some people, I know when that message first came through for me, I didn't really know what brought me joy. I didn't really know how to have fun. If I look at my, that little girl within me, I just kept telling her, like, we don't have time for you to have fun. We have a lot to do. Like, we might get our purpose wrong if you're out there having fun. So, we don't have time for that. And so now that we know we can't get our purpose wrong, and that we're here to have fun and experience joy and to play and create, and all things will really be done through you in that. So have fun with it. As you were saying, write the chapter, play with it, and have fun.
Okay, and on that, we will end this special show, this chapter of the SoulScape Show. How's that? And we know that both of you will be back at some point in the future, I hope. I've enjoyed every moment with you both. It's been so much fun. And just from reading people's chats in, they've enjoyed very much. And I wanted to just quickly say too that somebody asked about activation, and I want to let everyone know that from the time we just come together, the energy and the energetic beings that we are aligned with are working with you. And if you felt like you needed to say yes or give permission, you can go ahead and do that. But it's just because you've shown up, it's all good, right? It's not any formal anything. Just know that yes, blessings and love rain upon you in the most positive ways. And for everyone, I wish you the most beautiful evening, and thank you very much for your time, ladies, and everyone who has joined us tonight. I appreciate you being here. I give you much love. Send you kisses.
Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Thank you. See you soon. Thank you for joining us on the SoulScape.tv show. Go to SoulScape.tv to access the many free gifts from our guests and for more great masterclasses and panelist discussions.